She was a single mom.
Was it good?
Determined to build a better life for herself and her children.
All right, ladies, it's time for bed.
She had a lot of aspirations.
She had started taking classes at a local community college.
It took a lot of courage on her part.
Only she'll never graduate.
They didn't know where their mom was.
And they saw the blood all over the floor.
Her daughters were in that house with their mother's body for at least 9 hours.
Was it the father of her children?
This was a difficult, violent relationship.
She said, "You get a gun in my head."
Or was it the new man in her life?
They met at school.
They hit it off right away.
Two different suspects, but only one has a secret.
He's kind of schizo.
He's not taking his medications.
He heard voices.
July 19th, 2019. It's Friday evening in St. Paul, Minnesota, a city of 300,000 just across the Mississippi from Minneapolis.
St. Paul is considered the more tame part of the Twin Cities, where it's not as vibrant.
It's kind of the little sister of Minneapolis, but we're very proud of it here.
It's a little bit smaller, but in some ways it's more ethnically diverse.
You have more of a working class structure.
But that Friday evening, one hardworking St. Paul mom has inexplicably vanished. It's a little before 8 o'clock when Wanda Dixon gets a call from the daycare that looks after her friend Jessica Williams' youngest daughter.
Hello?
Hi, I'm trying to reach Jessica Williams. Do you happen to know where she is?
Wanda was her close friend, her old neighbor, and her emergency contact.
No. Is everything okay?
But Jessica hasn't picked up her daughter.
We close at 6 and it's already 7:45. We really need someone to come pick her up.
All right, I'll be right there.
Right away, Wanda was wondering, my goodness, what's going on? Something must be wrong. So Wanda volunteered to go over to the daycare and pick up Jessica's child.
Then she drove straight to Jessica's.
Jessica? Jessica, are you home?
Eventually, the two older daughters come to the door.
Girls, hey. Where's your mama?
They didn't know where their mom was. So Wanda walks into the house.
All right, I'll be right back.
Trying to find Jessica.
Jessica?
She was calling out for her. Jessica, where are you? Jessica, you in the house?
But when she reaches the kitchen, Wanda stops in her tracks.
Oh my God.
She sees blood splattered everywhere.
There was drag marks across that blood. Those drag marks worked their way down the stairs to the basement.
Oh my God.
Jessica Williams always put her children first.
She was a wonderful mother, and there was nothing more important to her than her family.
Although she was little more than a child when she first became a mother.
Jessica had her first child at the age of just 18 with her high school sweetheart.
She had met a boy named Rodney Crawford a few years earlier, and the two of them had fallen head over heels in love.
She felt excitement, nervousness. There was a lot of emotions there.
The couple faced plenty of challenges, too.
If being teen parents wasn't already difficult, they had a daughter who was born deaf.
Oh, she did it!
Now you have to learn how to communicate. You have to find special services. She did that. Her daughter was thriving.
Jessica and Rodney went on to have 2 more daughters.
Jessica was a woman who could take on anything.
But raising 3 kids put a strain on the relationship.
They were financially struggling. They were having stresses.
After years of trying to make it work, Jessica and Rodney just didn't work out anymore.
They ended up splitting and going their separate ways.
But through every hardship, Jessica never stopped fighting for her children and herself.
All right, ladies.
Jessica never seemed to quit. She seemed to decide that I am going to do more. I'm not done here.
She got a job as a home health care aide, and she had a lot of aspirations.
The biggest of them involved her lifelong passion for music.
Everyone who knew Jessica knew that she loved music. So it was no surprise to anyone that in 2019, Jessica pursued a bachelor's degree at St. Paul College in music.
For Jessica, it was just one more challenge.
To go back to school when you have 3 kids and you are now in your late 20s, that's a really difficult thing to do.
It really does show a resilience that I think we don't see that much of.
But now, after a phone call claiming that Jessica has failed to pick up her youngest from daycare,
I'll be right there.
Jessica's friend Wanda has made a horrific discovery.
She went to the house to see what was wrong.
Jessica?
Everything seems okay until she gets to the kitchen,
Jessica, where are you?
where she sees a pool of blood on the floor and streaks of blood leading down to the basement stairs.
However, she doesn't follow the trail of blood.
Oh my God!
She doesn't know if there's somebody in the house.
Girls, you okay?
So she got the kids outside just for their safety. And then she called 911.
Police arrive on the scene within minutes and make their way inside.
It appears that someone had been dragged through the kitchen, down into the basement.
And when they go downstairs, they find Jessica's body.
They had a murder on their hands.
After splitting with her high school sweetheart, Rodney Crawford, 27-year-old Jessica Williams was pursuing her dreams and raising 3 children as a single mother.
And she had started taking classes at a local community college.
Jessica was a single mother, so it took a lot of courage on her part.
Jessica was the type of young lady who was always trying to find that perfect balance in life. So she was determined to still make things right.
All right, I'll be right back.
But she would never get the chance.
Jessica? Jessica, where are you?
After her friend Wanda found a bloody scene in Jessica's kitchen,
Oh my God!
she called 911, and then police arrived to search the rest of the home.
When they go downstairs, that's when they find Jessica's body. Her t-shirt is wrapped over her head and her face.
And when they go to take the t-shirt off of her head, they see that she'd been shot in her neck and in her head.
When homicide detectives arrive on the scene, they determine that Jessica has been dead several hours.
Rigor mortis has already begun to set in.
They were able to see that this was not something that just happened.
Based on the blood, it appears that Jessica had been killed upstairs.
When the officers go upstairs, they find an empty gun case on the couch and 6 .22 caliber shell casings in the kitchen area.
As they looked around, they could see a trail where it appeared a body had been dragged along the kitchen to the basement.
It's unclear if by dragging her in the basement, the killer had hoped to cover their tracks.
But for whatever reason, the killer left the rest of the kitchen untouched.
Maybe they ran out of time, or just realized it was hopeless.
Still, the detectives believe there's at least one thing the killer did in order to cover their tracks.
Jessica's cell phone is not actually on the scene,
which suggests that the killer may have been in contact with Jessica prior to the murder.
And it's not the only thing about the scene that suggests the killer was someone Jessica knew.
The fact that the killer covered Jessica's face showed an emotional reaction.
Leaving crime scene techs to process the house, the detectives canvass the concerned neighbors who have gathered outside.
None of the neighbors recall seeing anything out of the ordinary.
I did see a guy taking out the trash last night. I just assumed it was her boyfriend.
Several neighbors say they've seen the man around the house before.
He was tall, slender, he had dreadlocks.
Neighbors weren't sure where the man had gone, but they had an idea how he got away.
Neighbors told the police that Jessica's SUV wasn't in the driveway.
Had the mysterious man with dreadlocks killed Jessica and made off with her SUV?
Then called up her.
Yeah. The police put out a bolo and they made a request. Whoever is driving that vehicle, stop them.
Then, after issuing the bolo, the detectives returned to the homicide unit to take statements from Jessica's daughters and her friend, Wanda Dixon.
One of the questions that people would be asking is, if both girls were in the house, why didn't they hear the gunshots? The fact is that a .22 is not that loud. Dropping a book on the floor is about the same audio level as that.
And the 10-year-old is deaf.
Well, should we talk to these girls real quick? Okay. If she could kind of translate for her then? What do you want me to tell? Just grab a seat right up there, it'd be perfect.
When the detective questioned the two girls, they knew something was wrong, but they really had no idea what had happened.
Did your mom wake you guys up this morning?
No, she's gone.
Where was she?
I don't know.
The girls say they spent most of the day just playing in their room.
They're not sure what's going on, and they're waiting for an adult to show up.
After talking to the girls, the detectives turned to Jessica's friend Wanda, who's still distraught over the news that Jessica is dead.
So I'll give you a second here to decompress, because clearly you've had to keep all this in for the kids. I can only imagine how difficult this is.
Once Wanda regains her composure, the detectives start off by asking how she knew Jessica.
I was her next door neighbor and a very good friend, and the kid got to her.
Wanda also explains how she was Jessica's emergency contact for things like the kids' daycare.
Which turns the questions towards the kid's father, Rodney Crawford.
Who can you tell me about him? Mr. Wonderful. That's what I always nicknamed him. When they first moved in, he seemed very nice.
But according to Wanda, her assessment of Rodney had eventually changed.
She started to see their relationship deteriorate.
I remember one time she having money at my door and she called the cops. She put a gun on my dad and he was gonna kill me.
Detectives investigating the murder of Jessica Williams have learned from her friend Wanda Dixon that the mother of 3 had a turbulent relationship with her ex, Rodney Crawford.
There is a lot of tension and potential violence in that relationship with the father of her children.
There's allegations of abuse.
He said he had a gun to my head. He also had a knife, and he was going to kill her.
Wanda, call the cops.
Wanda says she had called 911, but Rodney left before the police arrived.
They interviewed her and took pictures and everything like that.
Wanda says that Jessica didn't press charges against Rodney, but the relationship was never the same.
And Jessica realized at that point, I don't need this. This isn't good for my kids. Rodney and I, we need to split up.
Jessica got a restraining order against him. He was really not allowed to come anywhere near her.
However, Wanda also says that in addition to the restraining order, Jessica had also bought a gun.
Jessica, somewhat understandably, felt like she needed a gun for her own protection.
Considering that the detectives found an empty gun case in the house, they start to consider that Jessica might have been killed with her own gun.
Question is, was it Rodney who pulled the trigger?
This was a violent relationship. The fact that there was an order for protection in place shows his ability to be threatening. There was allegations that Rodney put a gun to her head. All of that started to check boxes for the police.
However, Rodney isn't the only person the detectives need to consider.
A neighbor said she saw a young man there before.
The police got the description from the neighbors of a tall, thin man with dreadlocks, and that doesn't sound like Rodney.
But the detectives don't know his name until they ask Wanda if anyone other than Rodney had reason to hurt Jessica.
But it's not him. My next suspicion would be the Sebastian guy. And who was the Sebastian?
According to Wanda, Sebastian is Jessica's new boyfriend.
How do you know his name's Sebastian? That's what the girls told me. Do you have any idea how long they were together? Maybe 3-4 months.
Jessica had described it as casual, but Wanda suspected that it was actually a lot more serious than Jessica was letting on.
You don't know anything other than that? No.
Wanda doesn't know his last name or what he looks like.
But the detectives suspect that Sebastian is the man with the dreadlocks that the neighbors say that they saw at Jessica's the night before the murder.
However, before the detectives can track him down, they get a call from dispatch.
Jessica's SUV has been located.
It was a few blocks away from Jessica's home.
The doors were locked. The key was not in it. And they touched the hood of the car and it was cool to the touch, so they could tell it had been parked there for quite some time.
So you have this locked vehicle, no one inside, and the police didn't want to act prematurely, so they sat back and watched that vehicle for a period of time to see if anybody would go over to it to get in and drive it.
But the vehicle appears abandoned.
No one got inside. No one approached the vehicle.
They did tow it down for evidence.
They send the car to be processed by forensic technicians.
While forensics gets to work on Jessica's car, detectives try to get a last name for her boyfriend.
They want to talk to Jessica's family to see if they can get any more information about the Sebastian guy.
Detectives also contact Rodney, who agrees to come in for an interview.
When Rodney arrives to the station, he's surprisingly inconsolable.
I'm like, you okay, baby? Yeah, Daddy, I'm okay. Mama dead.
He feels a ton of guilt.
Detectives investigating Jessica Williams' murder have just sat down with Rodney Crawford, Jessica's ex, and the prime suspect in her murder.
There was a history of domestic violence in the relationship.
Wanda, call the cops.
Eventually, she had to get a restraining order.
He tried to kill me.
But in the interview room, Jessica's ex doesn't act like a killer.
He cannot believe that the mother of his children is dead.
I'm so sorry, sir.
But are his tears genuine? Or an attempt to divert suspicion?
Detectives question whether or not it's sincere.
Put on the spot, Rodney doesn't deny that he and Jessica had their problems.
He admits that they broke up when Jessica was pregnant with their youngest child because he had gotten another woman pregnant.
Rodney even admits that there was violence between them.
However, he denies having anything to do with the murder.
He says he hasn't even seen Jessica in months.
Jessica put a restraining order against him, so he hasn't had any communication with Jessica or his daughters.
I ain't never lost all contact with her. So, what happened back in
Next, the detectives move on to Rodney's whereabouts for when the murder likely occurred.
Can you tell us where you were? We just want to get a timeline of everything.
Rodney says he was at his new girlfriend's house.
You were there Thursday afternoon until now.
Me, I had my son. While she went to work.
You were there the whole time?
The detectives also ask Rodney about Jessica's new boyfriend, Sebastian.
Do you know who your boyfriend is?
He hasn't heard anything about this new guy.
I couldn't talk to her, so I had to block over everything. So I went on social media, I went on nuts.
But he also suggests that the new boyfriend is behind Jessica's murder.
He says that had he not been unfaithful, she wouldn't have left him, she wouldn't be deceased.
The detectives aren't entirely sure they believe him, but for the moment, they play along.
You gotta not blame yourself here, pal. You can't control other people's actions.
Then, to test if Rodney's grief is sincere, the detectives step out of the room for a few minutes.
But inside the room, the tape is still rolling.
When detectives leave Rodney in the interview room, they're observing him.
The whole time, Rodney was just crying.
He is overwhelmed with sadness, feelings of guilt and shame about what he could have done differently.
He's the best actor on the planet, or this guy really is broken up.
Still, the detectives do follow up with Rodney's current girlfriend to see if her account matches his.
She says, yes, that's correct. He was there taking care of the kids. I came home from work, and then we were both home the rest of the evening together.
At that point, Rodney was officially cleared as a suspect.
So the question becomes, okay, who did it?
To answer that question, the detectives focus their attention on finding Jessica's new boyfriend, Sebastian.
They only have a first name, But the detectives hope that once they get Jessica's cell phone records, they can confirm his identity.
But before they receive the records, Jessica's sister Ebony arrives at the station.
Ebony tells them that yes, Jessica did tell her about this new guy she'd been dating.
They went to St. Paul College together.
He was also pursuing a degree in music.
Although according to Jessica's sister, his name isn't Sebastian.
His name was Shabazz.
You know his full name?
Nope, I just know him as Shabazz.
That's why the kids had it all Sebastian, Shabazz, that's kind of cool, but it was Shabazz.
Can you describe him for me?
He's African-American with long dreads. He's about 6 feet. Slim.
This is likely who the neighbors saw at Jessica's house.
But Ebony says Shabazz isn't Jessica's boyfriend. He's her ex.
And she told me she broke up with him.
What, baby, what?
According to her sister Ebony, murder victim Jessica Williams had recently broken up with her boyfriend, Shabazz.
Ebony said, I think that's the guy you want to talk to. He's trouble.
Did she mention any problems with any other boyfriends?
Ebony says that Jessica and Shabazz met at the community college they both attended.
They were both non-traditional older students, so they were kind of drawn towards each other.
But Jessica's sister says she was less than thrilled with Shabazz.
She did have some reservations about their relationship.
There was something about him that just felt off to her.
He kind of crazy because he talks to himself and stuff. He's kind of schizo.
Ebony says she was glad when Jessica told her she and Shabazz had split up.
The Thursday prior to her death, Ebony asked about Shabazz, and Jessica explained that they had broken up recently, and Shabazz was no longer living there.
But according to Ebony, Shabazz wasn't happy about it.
He was angry about, them breaking up and stuff.
She's certain that this guy is the person responsible for murdering her sister.
After interviewing Jessica's sister, the investigators redouble their efforts to find Shabazz.
The police looked through Jessica's social media, and they find someone in her friends list named Shabazz Miller.
They find out his full name is Shaki Shabazz Miller Brantley.
He is tall, thin, with dreads. He's exactly the description that they had been given.
After a bit more digging, the detectives are able to track down an address for where Shabazz lives with his mother.
Found the car, we gotta go.
Please have a seat.
Although when the detectives arrive at the apartment complex, the manager seems surprised to learn that he's staying there.
Oh no, he better not be living here. I had so many issues.
Shabazz has caused so many issues with the neighbors, within the complex. There's been complaints. Shabazz's behavior is so unacceptable that they've told his mother that he absolutely can't live with her.
She's the only one on the lease and the only one who can live in the apartment.
However, the apartment manager admits it's possible Shabazz has been sneaking in and out.
He's not going to be coming through the front door because he doesn't want anyone to know he's there.
Luckily, there was surveillance on both entrances.
Can we take a look at some footage?
Yeah, sure. I'll pull it up now.
They see Shabazz at the back entrance, and the landlord says, "That's him."
100% sure. That is Shabazz.
It's time-stamped for Friday at noon.
Can we get a copy of this?
Yeah, sure.
Which fits the timeline of the murder.
Since Jessica did take her youngest daughter to daycare on Friday, the detectives believe that the murder occurred sometime mid-morning.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Convinced they've found Jessica's killer, the detectives establish surveillance outside the apartment.
Because they don't see him exit again, they're making the assumption that he's probably still inside of his mother's apartment.
Then they secure an arrest warrant and prepare to take Shabazz into custody.
They had to use a SWAT team to go in because they don't know his state of mind. They don't know if he's going to come out shooting.
Sheriff's off. Get out, get out, get out, get out!
Since it wasn't at the scene, he may still have the murder weapon in his possession.
But all their precautions prove unnecessary.
They were able to arrest Shabazz without incident.
They bring him down to the station. His mother also comes down to the station so that she can give her own statement.
But first, the detectives conduct a thorough search of the apartment.
They find a .22 caliber handgun in a kitchen drawer.
They found Jessica's cell phone, and they also found a pair of men's sneakers that were bloody.
After searching the apartment, the detectives head back to the station and sit down with Shabazz's mother.
Understandably, she wants to know what's going on.
Well, the reason why I have you here is that Jessica was found dead.
Shabazz's mother confirms that Shabazz had been living with Jessica until a few days ago.
He came through the door with a big bag of clothes, and he said, she put me out. That's all he said, she put me out.
But the detectives are probably thinking he didn't tell his mother the whole truth.
Has he ever harmed anybody or hurt anybody that you're aware of?
He's been in jail. He's on probation.
What's he on probation for?
When he did like attempted robbery like some years ago, he's been on probation for like 3-4 years.
But Shabazz's mother says her son's problems didn't end when he got out of jail.
She discloses that Shabazz has a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia.
She thought he was off his meds.
Do you think he could ever harm somebody like that?
It's possible. If he go crazy out of his mind.
Here we go, baby.
Get your stuff and go.
While talking with his mother, detectives investigating the murder of Jessica Williams have learned that her ex-boyfriend, Shabazz Miller Brantley, has been diagnosed with schizophrenia.
She says he's not taking his medications and he's not in his right mind. He could potentially kill someone.
Do you think he could ever harm Jessica?
I don't know.
But she does know that he was upset after the breakup.
Did he say anything to you about Jessica?
He said, I don't understand why she did me the way she did.
She asked him what happened and what was going on, what was wrong.
He told me when they got into an argument the other day.
There's been a history of his mental health causing issues in his relationship, so she wasn't surprised to hear this.
She didn't know that there's a crime associated with this yet, but she figures he did something stupid.
And whatever it was, clearly bothered him.
Shabazz's behavior was really odd. He was pacing around, he seemed agitated, he was mumbling to himself.
He was like mumbling. You know.
She didn't know if these were just symptoms of his schizophrenia because he hadn't been taking his medication, or if something more serious had happened.
What did he do for?
I can't get into that, really.
After talking to his mother, the detectives move on to Shabazz.
I think, you know why you're down here, we know why you're down here, we just want to get to the bottom of everything.
Detectives tell Shabazz that they're investigating Jessica's murder, and they suspect that he's involved.
feel like you're a decent guy that, you want to get things off your chest.
Shabazz tells detectives that, yes, Jessica did put him out.
Why does she want to put you out?
I don't need it all.
He thought Jessica simply wanted to see other people.
There had been an argument between him and Jessica, that they had gotten into a fight, but he says that argument ended and he left the house.
You can go. I am done with you.
I walked out.
But the detectives know that Shabazz isn't telling them the whole story.
Detectives then reveal to Shabazz that they found a gun in his apartment.
We've already found it in your apartment. Okay.
And Shabazz slowly starts breaking down and his story starts changing.
Shabazz tells detectives that he and Jessica got into an argument.
I am done with you.
Tripping out. Just kept tripping.
According to Shabazz, the argument turned threatening.
Yeah, and she had a bag on her. She was saying she gonna shoot me. She had a head in her bag.
Okay.
It's a little bag she had.
All right.
She was carrying. She was saying she gonna shoot me.
He claims that he was afraid for his safety.
You better get your stuff and go.
Whoa, come on. She was telling me she would kill me.
He was fearful that Jessica was about to shoot him.
He tells detectives that he heard voices telling him, kill her first.
If I don't kill her first, she gonna kill me.
So Shabazz says he'd pulled his own gun.
He guesses he fired it 4 or 5 times.
You're saying that it was self-defense. You thought that she had a gun.
Yeah.
And he says it's only after he shot her that he realized it wasn't true.
He looked inside of the bag that she was holding for the gun and saw that there was not a second gun.
So I'm like, what the fuck? No, then you talk about you gonna kill me and all this. I just started crying. I felt bad.
But not bad enough to call the police.
I tried to carry her down the stairs so the kids won't see her.
Shabazz says that he carried her body down the stairs, but it's pretty clear from the blood stains on the floor that she wasn't carried. Her body was dragged.
But he swears he never meant to kill her.
He said the voices told me I had to kill her. It was the voices.
I've been hearing a lot of sure.
And when Shabazz goes on trial for murder, the entire case hinges on his mental state.
His defense team used mental health as his defense.
He stuck with this mental health claim that he was hearing voices.
He can say, look, I was off my meds and crazy.
The prosecution argues it wasn't voices that made him shoot Jessica.
Jessica simply didn't want to be with him anymore, and he didn't want to break up.
What? Just get your stuff and go, Shabazz.
Tell me what to do.
He raised the gun and started firing at Jessica.
If he was truly defending himself, one shot would have ended the threat. The fact he continued to fire says that there was an emotional component to his actions. He had recently been dumped and thought she was dating other men. And clearly this was a rage-type shooting.
Which scenario will the jury believe?
He was found guilty of second-degree murder.
They did not believe his defenses for either self-defense or a mental health defense.
He was sentenced to 18 years in prison with 3.5 years credit for time served.
To Jessica's family, it's a small price to pay.
Minnesota only requires you to serve 2/3 of your sentence. Then you're eligible for parole. So he could conceivably be eligible for parole in 12 years. He gets credit for 3. So he'll be out in just a few years.
Shabazz will get the chance for a better future than he took from Jessica and her children.
When Shabazz gets out of prison, he gets to live his life all over again. What does Jessica get? What do her kids get? Nothing.
There are a lot of destroyed lives in this case. Jessica's first and foremost. But her 3 children who will never really know their mom or what their mom was capable of.
But it could have been prevented.
It's important to make sure that mental health resources are accessible.
Every aspect of your life is changed when someone this close to you is murdered. You do not figure out until they are gone the void spaces that they leave behind.
There was blood coming through the apartment down the hallway. The blood trail continued out of the front door.
People experience jealousy in a series of emotions. Because you were jealous of these things, you did this.
That definitely set him off. He's not in a world where he has a lot of positive relationship. He's kind of left up to his own devices, and his own devices was guns and anger.
Ultimately, this was a collision course that was destined to happen unless somebody stepped in.
On December 31st of 2009, I was working patrol in the city of Burien. And around 9:30 at night, dispatch toned out a call of a shooting that had just occurred.
911, what are you reporting?
I need an ambulance.
And you need an ambulance?
Yes, please.
We have a shooting.
Please don't do this to me, baby.
The caller is so upset she isn't able to provide a lot of details. Deputies immediately race to the address.
It's a 2-story apartment, but it's only probably 10, maybe 12 units total. So 6 downstairs, 6 upstairs.
Arriving at a scene like this, you're very cautious because you don't know exactly what you're getting yourself into. So with that, we had stopped on the roadway so that we could get a view of the apartment from a relatively safe distance, and if the shooter was still in the area and potentially looking to start shooting at us, our cars could afford us some cover. Once we had at least another 2 or 3 officers at the scene, we made the decision that we needed to go into the apartment where this shooting had occurred. When we entered into sort of a living room, kitchen area, and there was a short hallway that went back to a bathroom and 2 bedrooms on the back side of the apartment. We did not find anybody in the apartment until Deputy Smithmeyer and I entered one of the back bedrooms. We found a young female face down.
She was small in stature. She was a teenager, you could tell, just by looking at her.
The 911 caller tells dispatch the victim's name is Mykara Sanders, and she's only 15.
It was quite obvious that she had been shot on the left side of her face in the cheek area. It was a very significant wound. There was a fair amount of blood on the covers of the bed, and she was laying partially face down. Deputy Smithmeyer tried to find a pulse on the young lady, and he told me, I can't get a pulse.
So I started to do CPR. She was aspirating a lot of blood out of her nose and out of the hole in her cheek. I think between myself and Deputy Ostrom, we continued CPR for several minutes until aid got there.
Mycara Sanders was born in 1994 in Seattle, Washington.
Mycara was just social. She was a good baby. She didn't hardly cry. She just was easy to get along with. And so that's how Mycara was growing up. She was always smiling, having fun, laughing, and, you know, just being that bright person in the room.
Mycara, her personality was the biggest and best thing about her. She was very bubbly. Like, she would just make you happy being around her because that's the energy she would bring.
Mycara's father was not in the picture, so her grandmother helped raise her along with her brother and sister. It was a loving home, but with strict rules.
I went to Mycara's grandma's house for the first time shortly after we met, and I had a graphic t-shirt on with like a skull or something on that. She's like, oh no, you can't walk in here with that. Zip your jacket up. Like, my grandma's not having that. We're not raised like that. You can't wear that.
She had a super support structure. It wasn't just our village and our family. It was just so much broader. She would have these friends and these people that anywhere she went, it was always, you know, Mycara wanting to be exposed to new people, new things, and trying different things for her life.
Mycara, I think, had a genuine love for people. She was really involved with church with her grandmother. She comes from a very spiritually centered home.
Faith was such an important part of Mycara's life that when she was 13, she went on her first missionary trip with her grandmother.
They went a few places, but their main place was in India because they were going to build school and church for the people of this village. And this was right after the earthquake that triggered the major tsunami over there. They were gone for about a month and a half doing missionary work, building that church and building that school.
She talked so much about that trip. And I think that experience is where that dedication to service came from.
Mycara came home to Washington State, determined to continue helping the less fortunate. She began to volunteer for an after-school program designed to keep kids away from drugs and street life.
Part of the programming that we did was around volunteerism and getting young people engaged in service. And I knew I could always count on her for that.
Mycara made a lot of friends volunteering, but high school was a different story.
My understanding is that Mycara was going to a school doing well academically and ran into somebody that was a bully. And in dealing with this other young lady, she ended up having to go to another school.
Changing schools is never easy for a teenager, but Mycara met a young man at the new school who made it worthwhile. His name was Matthew Du Bois.
With Matthew and Mycara, it was like the good girl attracted to the bad boy.
The environment that Matthew grew up in was one that was dangerous, not only to him, but other kids his age. They grew up in an area where lives are often cut shorter, and they're brutal and they're violent, and the fear of death via murder is present. Matthew, like many others, was a young man that's just trying to navigate a very brutal environment. She saw the best in Matthew and what his possibilities were, and clearly she was attracted to him as somebody that she wanted to date.
Mycara has this thing about her. It's a gift she's had. She likes to save people and love people. And I think she viewed Matthew as someone who had been underserved and underloved, and that because she had met him, it was suddenly her job to prove and show this love that I know she could see very clearly that he didn't have.
It didn't take long for Mycara to fall in love. When she wasn't studying or volunteering, she was with Matthew.
She was very loyal and made sure that she went above and beyond for him. She would always be there, getting them food, getting them stuff. She had this unmatched loyalty, like right or wrong, she's gonna be there for you. And that's what I think he's seen and admired in her.
New Year's Eve 2009 marked the couple's 6th month together. So Mycara wanted it to be special, but their celebration turned into a nightmare instead. Mycara is clinging to life after an unexplained shooting. But investigators quickly discover there's more to the story.
When we left the apartment and secured it, there were several other deputies on scene, and I noticed that there was a lot of activity just upstairs from where we were.
While authorities were responding to Mycara's shooting, another call came in. Mycara isn't the only victim.
Please, the young man's been shot. Somebody's collapsing, please.
All right, what's the young man's name?
Matthew.
The caller lives in the apartment upstairs. She says that minutes earlier, the victim stumbled to her door with a gunshot wound.
He's bleeding to death in the stomach side. Something else. I don't know. I can't believe it happened.
There was blood coming through the apartment down the hallway towards the front door. And when you walked out of the front door, the blood trail continued around to the stairway that led upstairs to where the young man was with the gunshot to his shoulder.
The second victim is Mycara's boyfriend, 16-year-old Matthew Du Bois. Worked desperately to stabilize Matthew Du Bois and Mycara Sanders after a New Year's Eve shooting. Police question the woman who made the first 911 call. She tells them she's the girlfriend of Matthew's older brother. The apartment where they were shot is the Du Bois family residence.
Females that have been in the lower apartment when the shooting occurred had stated that she had been over there due to the fact that they were getting together for New Year's.
They're all in the apartment together. She ends up leaving this apartment because she had been calling her boyfriend and he wasn't answering. She leaves this apartment and runs to her grandmother's apartment, which is right in the same complex, and tries to call him from that number, hoping that he will answer. She says she knew her grandma was home, but her grandmother didn't answer. While she's about to knock again, she says she hears a loud bang. At this point, she heads back downstairs to see exactly what happened because she heard the boom and it sounded like it came from her apartment. As she's heading downstairs to go to her apartment, she claimed to police that she saw a black male running from the apartment. And it was someone she didn't recognize. She says that she hears Matthew calling for help, and she runs in and she sees Matthew holding his shoulder and he's bleeding profusely. And Matthew apparently kept repeating that they ran in the house, they ran in the house. Knowing that Matthew's been shot, she then goes to look for Mycara. She looks for Mycara inside the house and she finds her inside the room and she's lying in a pool of blood. She calls 911. So she was asked during this interview, what did the suspect look like? What did you see? And she said she didn't see much. She saw this black male running from the scene and he had short black hair and she described him as short.
The woman says she has no idea who the man was or why he shot Matthew and Mycara. Deputies take a closer look at the Du Bois' apartment to see if they can find any clues.
It looked like the furniture was out of place. Like it wasn't very tidy, but it was more than that. It was more like a struggle had ensued of some sort or a fight or something.
In a scene like this, we're not gonna start digging through a bunch of stuff, because there is going to be a search warrant that is going to need to be procured for the detectives. Basically, ours was just a cursory view of the apartment to see if we did, in plain view, notice a gun sitting somewhere or any other items that we felt would have evidentiary value. At that point, neither of us had seen a gun. The only thing that we did notice is what appeared to be a bullet hole in that door.
Unfortunately, nothing they find helps identify the shooter. For that, they need to talk to the victims, and only Matthew is conscious.
After some time of the paramedics working on Makara, they were able to stabilize her to the point that they could get her loaded up in an ambulance and transport her to hospital.
At this stage, it's critical to try to talk to Matthew and get as much information from him as possible before he goes off to the hospital, because he could be incapacitated. He could die from his injuries. But you want to get some information out of him about a possible suspect. So they go over to talk to Matthew, and as they're talking to him, Matthew says that a suspect came in and he described him as a black male with a blue bandana and shot him and his girlfriend from across the room.
He was seen with a blue bandana, which was insinuating potentially that he was part of a gang.
Armed with Matthew Du Bois's description of the gunman who attacked him and his girlfriend, Makara Sanders, deputies searched the surrounding area. It hasn't been long since the shooting occurred, so he might still be in the neighborhood.
Being that it was New Year's Eve, there were a lot of people having get-togethers and parties at their apartments. So one of the things that we did is a lot of deputies went around and knocked on apartments to talk to people, stop people in the street, ask them, did you hear anything? Did you see anything unusual? And we couldn't come across anybody that was aware of something taking place or seeing somebody running from that apartment complex. We had a canine officer who had arrived on the scene, and he had tried for a track of the suspect, and that track was unsuccessful. The dog just wasn't indicating on anything to give us an idea of where the suspect potentially had fled to.
As the search continues, investigators turn their attention to the second 911 caller, the grandmother who lives in the apartment upstairs.
She's telling detectives that Matthew came, knocked on her door, and he had this gunshot wound, and that was when she got involved.
She claims she had been home all night, and there had been no knock on her door before Matthew's.
At this point, detectives are getting concerned because the story's not adding up.
The woman's granddaughter, the first 911 caller, told investigators she had knocked earlier.
There was the realization that things weren't jiving. It was decided at that time that they would try to get some clarification on those things that were not, the pieces weren't fitting together the same way.
Detectives take the first caller to the station for further questioning. At the hospital, Makara's loved ones are waiting for news of her condition.
Matthew was in surgery, so the waiting room for Matthew was downstairs. Makara was upstairs, and I didn't understand why at that time. But I know that I was trying to get to Makara, so we were asking the doctors, can we see Makara? How's Makara?
The head surgeon, when she came into my waiting room, I was already on my knees praying and crying for her life to be spared. So when she came in, I didn't even see this woman's face. I seen her walk in the room. And it's just like these things. I don't know. I knew she didn't have nothing good to tell me.
The surgeon explains they've done everything they can, but the bullet did too much damage.
Her machines that were hooked up to her organs started beeping and going off. We agreed to let her go peacefully.
Just before 2 a.m. on January 1st, 2010, Mykara Sanders is taken off life support. She dies in her mother's arms.
I was at peace because I knew what had happened to her was causing her extreme pain that she had never felt before. But I was very angry because something was stolen and ripped from me that I knew I could never get back.
I just broke down. You know, I just started bawling. Felt like my heart was pulled out of my chest. I'm like, there's no way. Like, there's absolutely no way.
Later that morning, detectives come by to talk to Zakiya Sanders to see if she knows of anyone who'd want to hurt her daughter. She says Mykara was helping troubled kids at a local teen center and worries it might have gotten her involved with some dangerous people.
Mykara did live a very structured and sheltered life. We accounted for all the activities of her day. Being at the teen center with these other children, I just think that they kind of, you know, gave her that opportunity to do something a little different and a little more than what she had been experiencing, and that the reward was going to be a good time and excitement.
Her independence had evolved. I think she was trying to really figure out, you know, as a young adult, what freedoms do I have? Which way can I go? And, you know, who do I want to be around?
Zakiya says she's been particularly concerned about her daughter's relationship with Matthew Du Bois.
She knows that I didn't approve of certain behaviors, and she knows that I didn't approve of certain activities for her age, and that I was very strict and very disciplined about what and how I wanted her to be exposed to the outside world. We weren't raised with young women, especially that were unwed, having boyfriends. That was not a standard for conduct that was going to be tolerated within our family.
Mykara was caught between worlds, for sure. And we would have these conversations all the time. She understood that some of the things that she was doing wasn't really reflecting how she was brought up.
The relationship that they were trying to form was not going to be approved by any elder in her community. So he had to be her secret, and that he was.
Authorities also discover another reason Mykara kept Matthew a secret. He has a criminal record, including charges of burglary and illegal possession of a firearm.
Without question, Matthew had been in trouble. He had been in trouble before he ever met Mykara. He was in alternative school for a reason. He had been in and out of juvenile detention for a reason. And he was on electronic home detention on December 31st, 2009, when Mykara visits him.
I hope she didn't catch a bullet behind this man. I hope she didn't try to stand in front of him and try to protect him for somebody he's fighting.
So far, investigators have conflicting stories about what happened the night Mykara Sanders was killed, and little physical evidence to go on. But that's about to change.
The next day when I came in to work, I had heard that the deputy that relieved us, while he was standing outside of the apartment, was just kind of looking around and happened to see a gun tucked kind of under some bushes by a stairwell, I believe. And so they were able to recover that for evidence.
That gun ended up being a .357 Magnum that had 2 rounds still inside the chamber that were expended. It was also blood on the barrel of that gun.
Authorities send samples of the blood to the lab for DNA testing. Mykara's autopsy provides other important pieces of evidence.
And the medical examiner confirms that she passed away from a gunshot wound to her cheek. They were able to retrieve a bullet from her, and now that bullet can be compared to the weapon that was recovered from the scene.
The medical examiner also finds gunpowder marks on Mykara's skin.
They were able to determine that this was a close-range gunshot wound where the gun was literally pressed against her face. What this was able to tell detectives is this killer didn't shoot from across the room. This killer walked into this apartment, walked across the apartment, navigated through and into this bedroom, and shot Makira.
That means either Matthew's memory is incorrect or he's not telling the truth. Unfortunately, he's still sedated after surgery, so they'll have to wait to question him further. Instead, detectives have another talk with the witness who confirmed his story.
So they bring back in the first 911 caller, who was the young lady who was dating Matthew's brother.
It was decided at that time that they would try to get some clarification on those things that were not, the pieces weren't fitting together the same way.
When she learns about Makira's death, the woman suddenly changes her statement.
She now says Matthew had a gun that evening. It was a revolver. That's also key because that was found outside. Says he was planning to fire it off that evening for the New Year's Eve celebration. She also said that he was playing around with it while in the apartment, making it go click by pulling the trigger. So the story that she's telling detectives at this point is that she's sitting on her couch, Makira and Matthew are also in there, and then they go to the back bedroom. She says she hears a boom, and then she runs upstairs to her grandmother's apartment. And that's when they call police. But detectives at this point aren't falling for it anymore. They confront her again and tell her, your grandmother already came off the truth and told us that Matthew was the first person there. And they confront her with this information.
Clearly shaken, the woman revises her story yet again.
This story now is that she hears the gunshot and Matthew calls for help. She goes in and Matthew says, I accidentally shot Makira while I was playing with my gun. Matthews then says, call the police and tell them somebody ran in here and shot us. He then shoots himself in the shoulder. And she says, that's when I called 911. Detectives aren't stupid. They know something's off with this. They tell her, look, it's up. If you're not going to be honest with us, we're going to charge you with accessory to murder.
Finally, the witness decides to come clean. She admits that she's been lying to protect Matthew because she's afraid of what he might do if she doesn't.
She tells him, I'm scared because Matthew is involved in criminal activity. The gang stuff, the stop snitching stuff, I'm scared. She tells him that most of what she had been saying was true, but there were key details that she was leaving out because she was in fear. And she tells the full story of what happened and how it went down.
An eyewitness now claims that Matthew Du Bois is the one who shot Makira Sanders and says it all started over jealousy.
She tells him that Matthew and Makira got into an argument about a social media app that Makira had gotten a message on. Matthew had been accusing her of cheating, and this grows and escalates, and they go into this back bedroom. She says she hears this argument going on, and then the loud bang.
The woman tells investigators Matthew shot himself, then ran out of the apartment with the gun. She doesn't know what he did with it after that.
Was this a jealous boyfriend? Was this rage? Was this truly an accident? That's what detectives have to now figure out, because they've kind of pieced this story together where it looks like Matthew is the killer, and he did this. Why did he do it is now the question.
But to get answers to these questions, investigators will have to get Matthew to talk.
Matthew is at the hospital recovering from surgery, and detectives go back to re-interview him. He does not know Makira has passed away at this point. When they start to interview him, he's given very short answers, asking him questions like, what happened? I got shot. Where did it happen? My apartment.
His next answer is a stunner.
Who were you with? My girl, that bitch. Who calls a girl that you're with that bitch at that moment? Normally not a victim. Detectives confront him with this information that they have and tell him, stop with the lying, stop with the drama that you're giving us, because we know what happened. We've gotten more information while you have been in the hospital. And Matthew says, okay, we were in an argument, we got into some pushing and shoving, and it was over some social media stuff because I thought she was cheating on me.
According to Matthew, the message was from Makira's ex-boyfriend. He says he didn't tell them about it earlier because he knew it would make him look guilty.
Matthew claims that this argument got heated and he went to cool off because he asked her to leave and she wouldn't leave. And while he was in the process of cooling off, he hears this gunshot and he sees this 5'8" guy with this blue bandana from a possible rival gang running out of the apartment. And that's the story that he's choosing to stick with at this point.
But detectives have several reasons to believe Matthew is lying. One of them is the fact that at no point during their questioning does he bother to ask about Makira.
That's not normal. That's not what a normal person in a situation like that does. Normally a person says, well, how are they? What's going on? In this scenario, Matthew doesn't know that his girlfriend is dead, but he does know that she was injured severely, and he doesn't ask how she is.
Makira's loved ones don't believe his story either. They tell detectives she never would have cheated on Matthew. But he was right about one thing. She wanted out of the relationship.
It was like a roller coaster and she was coming down. She wanted to get away from the lifestyle that she had created with the relationship with Matthew. It was just becoming too much for her. She wasn't satisfied or happy anymore, and she wanted to leave.
She was aware that she was in over her head, and this was not going to be a situation she could love away, and that him changing his thoughts, patterns, behaviors, and decision was way beyond her pay grade. I just believe because of the amount of time that he had access to her, that he kind of viewed her at the end of the relationship as kind of like his possession. And when he was threatened with the possibility that he may lose something so precious to him, I think it made him make some decisions and choices about if or how that was going to happen.
Given their history, it's easy to see how a message from Makira's ex on New Year's Eve could have pushed Matthew to a vengeful place.
Just the intention of leaving him was going to be a problem. But then for him to find out that what he believes the reason is that you want to leave now is another boy, oh, that definitely set him off.
But Makira wasn't even interested in the other guy.
The message was just a general message of invitation to a New Year's Eve gathering from one of her other young male friends. They had started arguing about it. Because you have to also understand, too, he was tethered to his home. He was on home detention. So he didn't have the freedom to get up and move around and be social on this day. He felt like he was losing her. And I feel like in the midst of that conflict, that he did what he knows how to do, and he reverted back to his normal, unnatural behavior, and that is to use violence with conflict resolution. And through the course of that argument, Matthew stopped using his words to resolve his conflict and picked up his gun and shot my daughter in the face.
The question is, will prosecutors be able to prove it? 2 days after Mykara Sanders was shot to death, forensic results on the evidence collected comes back from the lab.
They were able to get the forensic evidence that was needed, matching the blood that was on the gun to Mykara. They were also able to match that slug that was recovered from her to the .357 that was recovered at the scene.
Although Matthew's prints are not on the gun, prosecutors believe he's the one who fired it.
By the time the first 48 hours was up, they had a case for second-degree murder against Matthew. And they handcuffed him to his hospital bed and charged him. So he went from Harborview to the juvenile.
Witness testimony and forensic evidence gives prosecutors a strong case against Matthew Du Bois. They informed the court they plan to try him as an adult, despite the fact that he was only 16 at the time of the shooting. Mykara's mother, Zakiya Sanders, attends every preliminary hearing.
There were court dates where I saw Matthew, and I was very conflicted when I saw Matthew. Part of me wanted to nail him to the cross like the monster he had shown me he was. And then the other part of me was a parent. I understood in parenthood that when you don't parent your children to a certain degree, they're not capable of certain things. And so I knew that a lot of these things that were aspects surrounding the murder, like carrying guns, hanging out on the streets, having conflicts, and using guns for conflict resolution, he had kind of been familiar with and used to. And that was really unfortunate for a child to be involved in such things.
Matthew faces the possibility of spending the rest of his life in jail, but the case never goes to trial.
Behind the scenes, the prosecutor was talking to the defense attorneys. They were evaluating the nature of the witnesses that were present, the forensic information that was present. After several months of negotiation behind closed doors and several hearings that were continued, Matthew entered a plea agreement. He entered what's called an Alford plea. An Alford plea essentially says that while I believe I am innocent, I believe the facts are such that a jury would likely find me guilty. I think that an Alford plea would be difficult for any victim to actually hear in a case, principally because you want to hear somebody admit or acknowledge that they did it or be convicted by a jury.
Matthew took an Alford plea against my wishes and the family's wishes. And as the parent, that was a slap in my face because I wanted to hear the details. I wanted to understand how it came to murder. There's been so many different stories said, so many he said, she said, and even after reading Discovery, only have a general idea of kind of what happened. But I wanted to know the fine details. I wanted to know what was the last conversation like, what was she talking about, and things like that.
Despite the deal, Matthew still faces up to 22 years in prison. On October 17, 2011, he goes before a judge for sentencing. The defense acknowledges that Matthew killed Mykara, but insists it was an accident.
I think that he probably had went through her phone. They was arguing with the phone. The gun was somewhere nearby. He grabbed it, was like, you know, acting or whatever, trying to intimidate her, because I heard the girl that was in the house say that she heard her say, stop playing, and then boom, the gun went off.
Prosecutors still believe it was an act of revenge.
All of this started with a MySpace post. A MySpace post in which another young man actually invited Mykara to hang out on New Year's Eve with him instead of Matthew. The state's theory ultimately was that Matthew became enraged and he did something that was unspeakable. He shot her. And then he shot himself to try to cover it up.
I don't know that I ever thought that I would hear that MySpace would ever be the reason that a young person lost their life.
Matthew is sentenced to 13 years and 9 months. He is released after serving just 10 years.
That was another slap in the face because I at least wanted him to do, at the least amount, the age that she was at when he took her, and that was 15 years. Plus, this was not his first felony. 13 3/4 was just not justice. It didn't make you feel like you received justice. You just kind of take it so that you can somewhat move on with your life and have a little bit of closure.
Anytime a young person is charged with a crime and found guilty and a sentence is imposed, I think that we all need to look in the mirror. And we all need to reflect upon how we got to that place and how our system failed. He took something that he could never give back and never fully repay.
I have tons of pictures of Mykara, and so I look at them and wonder where she would be if she was able to spend the rest of her life pursuing her goals, and who she would have been. What choices would she have made? You know, singing and just being artistic was really a passion of hers. Would she have become a singer? You know, would she have been maybe a songwriter? Like, what experiences would she have taken from her youth to become the adult that she was destined to be? So yes, I think about Mykara all the time.
I love her, and I will always speak life into her, and her legacy will never die as long as there's breath in my body.
Every aspect of your life is changed when someone this close to you is murdered. You do not figure out until they are gone the void spaces that they leave behind. And then you have to figure out what you're gonna do and put in those spaces so that you can have somewhat of some completeness to your day-to-day life. A song will come on and it will remind you of her. Or I'll see another little girl that has her hair combed really pretty, and that will remind me of Mykara and how I used to do her hair when I was young and keep her dressed up and dolled up. Even though they're away in the flesh, I don't believe you can kill a spirit. I believe a spirit doesn't have a beginning and an end, so it's always here somewhere.
Dancing in the street, groove so smooth, feel it deep in your soul. Let the music take dream shining bright in the light. Everybody moving, dancing wild and free. This funky groove got you and me.